Today on the Bar Business Podcast, discover how Gen Z is reshaping bar economics, drinking 20% less than millennials, but spending more per visit when they do go out. Uncover why nearly half of Gen Z adults have never consumed alcohol, but represent $450 billion in spending power that bar owners can't afford to ignore. And learn how social media platforms dominate Gen Z discovery, with 40% preferring to search on Instagram or TikTok rather than Google for recommendations. Welcome to the Bar Business Podcast, where we help bar owners increase profits, attract loyal guests, and simplify operations so you can avoid burnout and finally enjoy your life outside of your bar. I'm your host, Chris Schneider, the Bar Business Coach. So today we're diving into how Gen Z is fundamentally changing bar economics through reduced alcohol consumption, strategic spending habits, and driving explosive growth in non-alcoholic beverages. If you own or manage a bar in today's market, understanding Gen Z behavior isn't just helpful, it's essential for your business's survival. This is what the future is going to look like. Now, maybe Gen Alpha will be different, but Gen Z is a huge customer base that we can't ignore, and we have to begin to understand them because, let's face it, they're becoming a larger and larger percentage of the people that come in to bars and restaurants. And so we're going to talk through a number of statistics and things about Gen Z today. We're going to talk through why they drink differently, how they drink less but spend more, and the types of marketing that reaches them, and what kind of experiences they prefer. So let's jump into understanding Gen Z and how we can change our bars to not necessarily change, but improve our bars, develop new concepts, develop new things that we do to reach this audience. So I found it absolutely striking how Gen Z drinks differently than millennials. And I think we largely know millennials probably drink less than Gen X. In general, in the United States, drinking has declined. But what's amazing to me is only 18 to 20% of legal drinking age Gen Z regularly consume beer, wine, or spirits, right? Now, 18 to 20% regularly consume that. If we look at millennials, that's 30 to 31%. So millennials, not even most of them consume beer, wine, or spirits on a regular basis, but Gen Z is 2/3 the number regularly drink compared to millennials. One thing that's crazy to me, there was a study that was done in May of 2024, and they found that 64% of drinking age, legal age Gen Zs had not consumed any alcohol in the past 6 months. And the same study found 53% of Gen Z plan to drink less alcohol in 2024 compared to what they drank in 2023. So not only do they drink less as a total, but the amount they drink is declining, and that's what they want. When we look at what do they prefer, 34% of them prefer seltzers, and they're not that much into beer. So seltzer, I think we all know this, is becoming something that is important. And I think with seltzers, we can also look at other RTDs because they seem to enjoy the RTDs too. 86% of Gen Z believe that mental health is as important as physical health when they think about alcohol consumption. So even when they drink, they're probably a little bit less likely to binge drink or get drunk. Now, that's great for society, right? That's great for drunk driving. That's great for a lot of things. Not necessarily great for a bar's bottom line, although we should always encourage responsible drinking. So you can see that part both ways. Now, one thing to keep in mind that's interesting is while Gen Z may be drinking less than millennials, they're more likely to drink at bars and restaurants than at home. So part of this decrease in consumption is decreasing consumption at home, but not when they go out. Now, what's interesting to me is there's a little bit of a paradox here in spending. They drink less, but Gen Z, on average, have the highest guest check average, the highest spend when they go out of all generations. They average $51 per visit when they go out. 64% of Gen Z will eat out less than once a week, though, and about 35% dine out multiple times a week. When we look at annualized spending, Gen Z is spending about $165, let's say. It's 166.75 is the exact number from the study. Every month on socializing on average. So the average Gen Z person is spending about $2,000 annually going out. And that's bars, restaurants, that's everything. Only 58% of Gen Z say that going to bars is an important part of their socializing, though. And that's down from 65% of millennials. So they are drinking less, they do spend more, but they see bars as less important as a piece of their social life. And what that means is bars are really now competing not against other bars, but we're competing against all forms of entertainment when it comes to Gen Z. And they're more discerning about where their money goes. So they will spend money. Gen Z, just like millennials love experience, Gen Z loves experiences even more. So they'll cut back money on their daily life to splurge on experiences. So if we can give them a great experience, they have high check averages. Yeah, they go out less, but they will splurge when they go out. Right now, if we look at Gen Z, I mean, these folks are coming up, right? Some of them are still in high school, I think. Some of them are starting their careers. Some of them are getting a little bit more established. And so Gen Z as a whole, year over year from 2023 to 2024, their discretionary spending increased over 25%. So they are growing in influence. They are growing in number as far as the percentages that we'll see coming into bars, but they're also growing in their ability to spend. So we need to understand these trends so that we can adjust to Gen Z. Now, what marketing actually works to reach these folks? Because if we know we have to create experiences and we know they're going to drink less but spend more, we have to really focus on how can we show them that our establishment is going to provide an experience that they want to go for, that they want to spend money on. So how do we market to them? Well, 40% of Gen Z are making web searches on Instagram or TikTok instead of Google. TikTok itself reaches 58% of Gen Z, and 43% of them have purchased products advertised on TikTok. Instagram's going to reach 65% of them, and 40% have made purchases after seeing content on that platform. So Instagram, TikTok, that's where they go. That's where they're looking for recommendations. That's where they're looking for things to do. Now, where are they not? They're not on Facebook. Almost 70% of Gen Z spends zero time on Facebook. Zero. They don't look at it at all. So Facebook is not where to advertise if you're going after Gen Z. Instagram, TikTok, those are where to go if you're advertising to Gen Z. But the bigger thing here is, yes, you can push out content, but what they really like is user-generated content because that's going to build more trust. It's less polished than ads, but it's going to show that other people enjoy, right? Social proof is one of the most important pieces of persuasion today. So micro-influencers, people they know, their friends, celebrities, and not big celebrities, right? Because big celebrities are not really approachable, but those local celebrities, the people that built a local following are going to have the most impact on Gen Z. So those are the people that you need to make sure are coming in and having a great time at your establishment. So overall, they're looking for brands that are going to have tangible commitments to value as well. Sustainability, inclusivity, community impact. So focus on the community, focus on creating an environment where these folks want to come in that has a great experience. And because they're on Instagram and TikTok, make sure that everything you do is Instagrammable, right? We've talked about things being Instagrammable before, but make your drinks, make your atmosphere Instagrammable so they come in, they're taking pictures, they are posting. That's going to build that social proof, and that is going to build the most possible trust with other folks of Gen Z. So again, it's not necessarily about marketing to them. It's about creating the environment, creating the culture, creating this place that attracts them for an experience, and then relying on Gen Z themselves to post and market for you. So we need to make sure we're setting them up with Instagrammable, TikTokable experiences. Now, let's talk a little bit about what does that experience need to look like? Well, atmosphere is always going to trump alcohol, right? They're drawn to intimate settings. They want to have personal connection. They want to interact with each other, probably because of COVID, and they all, during that development time, they didn't really get interaction. So we want to create those experiences for them. 80% of them are worried about nightlife related harm. So we need to focus on safety. Gen Z is big on safety. So make sure that you're not just providing a safe environment, but that it's visible that you're worried about safety. Look at interactive experiences. We've talked about things need to be Experience-based. So can you do mixology classes? Can you do tasting sessions? Can you come up with other types of events that are going to attract them? And again, the biggest thing here is to be Instagram worthy. Experience, 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 Instagram, Instagram, Instagram. That is the way we get the dollars that Gen Z has. Regardless of the fact that they're spending less, we can still capture that market by providing the coolest culture, the coolest experience, and being aligned with their values to keep them coming in our doors, not our competitors' doors. So understand Gen Z to the extent that you can. If it's a large part of your market, make sure that you're adapting to Gen Z and realize that this generation is probably more different and is going to require a slightly different approach than prior generations.
That about wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed today's insights, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a review. If you are ready to take your bar to the next level, schedule a strategy session with me by clicking the link in the show notes below. Until next time, have a great day, and we will talk again later.